Clapping for others does not take away from personal success. My guest on this episode of Passing the Torch has been a long time coming. Host of Hero Front podcast, core member of Team Departing Sin, America's Most Wanted, and friend. Passing the Torch with Josh White starts now. First and foremost, welcome to the show, and thank you for joining me, Josh.
Bro, thank you. After you had, Kurt Warner on, I had to blow you up, and jump on that bandwagon before you get too famous. So thank you for having me.
You're famous. I mean, look at you. Look at America's Most Wanted over here.
I have it on television now. My God, how did that happen?
I know. Your eyes were popping, man. Your eyes were popping.
That's how you describe speaking to everybody.
Yeah, it's, man. I tell my wife, like, oh, that's the guy with the, when she's like, who's Josh? I'm like, the guy with the eyes. The guy with the eyes. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Man.
No, thanks for being on, man. This has been like, I think 2 years in the making. So we're finally making it happen. And well, I guess we've done something before. We did the K-Wright live thing, but in person, but just one-on-one, we haven't had a podcast. So
we have not had a one-on-one, but I will say that first, I don't think much, anything could beat that first time we podcasted together, which was with Chief Wright.
Yeah.
Enlisted Jesus at AFSA in person. I mean, you can't beat that.
Live, man.
And he unfiltered. Unfiltered. And people loved it. People were approaching me left and right at the base from that. Like, I loved how like truthful he was, and it was eye-opening, and it was so cool to like bounce off, you with that.
Yeah.
And it almost didn't happen. I felt like he was a little bit nervous or hesitant to do it because he was gone for a while. He was like, I'll be right back. And it was like hours. And we were like, I'm staying up as late as I have to.
Yeah, we did that like at 11 o'clock at night or something. It was crazy. I remember we got like 6,000 views or like viewers at one point.
Oh, yeah, it was good.
I mean, it was that was really good. But again, thanks for being here. I'm glad that you're not too famous or too big time to come on my show now. Because
never.
But I wonder, I don't think people realize the amount of how frequently we talk, man. I feel like you and I have done a pretty good job of staying in touch with one another. And dude, I think we talk probably every couple of days, or at least definitely every week for sure.
You're one of my best friends now, 100%.
I appreciate that, man.
Absolutely, man.
Thank you for that. All right, first question: why is life great right now? This episode is not sponsored by Buc-ee's, by the way.
Although I have my amazing Buc-ee's cup collection here. I think it changes with the temp too if I put ice in it.
Yeah.
But why is life great right now? I knew you were going to ask that, man. I knew it. That's your first question, right? Why is life great right now? I think that's a great way to frame it because we're often always looking at life in the opposite lens. So I love that you asked that. And before I get to the answer, in the mental health space that I'm working in now, there's this wheel that people use, which is all the emotions humans feel and all the words that we have to describe those emotions. There's one little sliver like this on that wheel, which is the positive words in our vocabulary. Everything else, 95%, is all negative. We have that many more words to describe negative things. No wonder we're always seeing life that way. But why is life great right now? I'd say because my transition was ideal. When I say it was ideal, and I get to take care of my family, it's ideal because my VA worked out on time, the rating I wanted. I got my retirement pay on time. That last check that the Air Force holds, I got that back a month later because they hold your last check to make sure you don't owe any money. And if you don't bug finance about that, you might not get it for months and months and months. So everything happened on time and everything worked out. I got a job. Granted, it expires in December, but I still got work right away. Now, why I say that's a blessing, because I was able to move off base, have this beautiful retirement ceremony with, all these people that I love, and I'm taking care of my family, and everything worked out. And it's a blessing because when you're going through this, you hear all the horror stories. I can't tell you how many people said, you are not going to get the VA rating you want. you are not going to get it on time. Your retirement pay will get screwed up. You'll never get that last paycheck, and you're going to be, barely surviving and needing help. That's the reality. And I was told that over and over and over again. And it pissed me off. And I said, I'm going to prove them wrong. That is not going to happen to me at all. And it didn't, because I talked to mentors, I talked to friends, I talked to all these people who went through it before me, and it all worked perfectly. That's why it's great right now.
Yeah, it's great to hear, and that's one of the things that you and I talk about. Is because I'm right behind you, so I know your effective retirement date. I think it was 1 February. I had my retirement ceremony in May. My effective date is later this year, but so I'm going through all the emotions and experiences. You're a couple months ahead of me, so it's like, hey, Josh, what can I expect over this next month or so? So that's really cool. What'd you say? There was a wheel at, like, where you work with like different emotions?
Yeah, it's like in the mental health career field, so it's nationally known, but it's like this wheel of emotions and the words we use to describe them. I'm not exactly sure why therapists use this wheel. Maybe it's to help people find the right words, but just what I noticed about the wheel was that it's like 90 to 95% our vocabulary has that many words to describe negative emotions and barely any words to describe the positive. So the point of that lesson that was given to me was that, don't feel bad if you feel like you're being too negative or if you're looking through a negative light. We're kind of wired as human beings to see the negative so that we can survive and take care of ourselves and get called to action. It's part of being a human being. And there's so many more words to describe it, and it's all based around survival. So like, don't beat yourself up. You can figure out a way to get around it, and it's totally normal to feel that way. It doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean something's wrong with you.
So I want to just hone in on that. So just imagine. So let's think that a year ago. So I want you to look at this from three different perspectives, and you get three chances to, move the needle on the wheel. So let's say a year ago, a year out. So 1 February of 2024. Where would you have placed that? I'm guessing it's some type of marker, or like a needle or something, right? To put on, like a tab to put on the emotion. So where would you have placed it on like a year out from your effective retirement date, and then uh, 1 day before your final out,
Okay.
and then the day that you final out with MPF, turn in all your stuff, and then actually we'll say 4 parts.
Okay.
Because the last day they wore you wore the uniform, and you have that feeling where you do your final out with MPF, and then it's because that's so the day before that, and then the moment right after, when you're like walking to your car after you turned in all your documents, and then on 1 February of 2025, which was your effective retirement day. So 4 parts.
Okay.
Like,
Let's start with the first one. You said that was like a year out, right?
yes, I'm saying 1 February, or even maybe September of 2023, because I know your retirement ceremony was in September of 24. But so whether a year out from your retirement ceremony or a year out from your effective retirement date.
So yeah, I'd say like a year out from my retirement date's a good one to pick, because like that's when you hit the button. That's when you've committed. And there's even warnings. That's like, hey, you're going to get to a point in this process where there's no turning back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it even gives you warnings. Um, at that point, I would say my emotions were probably excitement and relief. So, although it was a big commitment, it was kind of freeing to me, because like this whole other life that I've worked 20 years for is right around the corner. And I'm gonna unlock certain benefits that's gonna help me take care of my family forever. Right. So like, I would say at that point it was all excitement and like relief. Like, because my last 4 years were like the hardest of my whole career, right? Like, I was barely holding on. And so to get that relief and be like, get off my back, I'm leaving, was it was relieving. That's the word, relieving and excited.
All
What's
right, now
next
let's.
on this timeline?
So the day before your final out with the base.
Okay.
Yeah.
The day before my final out,
Yeah.
man, I think you're looking for like a before and after snapshot of like
Yeah, exactly.
when it set in.
Because it's different feelings where,
Yeah.
and there's certain, as I'm going through this process, there's certain things where it felt so final. So, for example, for me, I officially became an Ohio resident last week. So my whole life I've been an Oklahoma resident, but since I'm retiring in Oklahoma,
Yeah.
I was at the BMV here in Ohio, and switched all my stuff, my tags and title and all that. And for some reason, that hit me like, oh man, it's so final. Like I'm retiring.
Yeah.
It hit me different, and then uh, when I did my final out with MPF, it was just like, man, like this is the last time I'm going to be in uniform at MPF, and it's it was a wave of emotions, a roller coaster of feels.
So, man, I'm struggling to think of like the moment it was real. Honestly, because I planned so well, it was a
Yeah,
slow burn because I did a 6-month skill bridge. So honestly, there was never a oh my god moment. I guess my first day as a civilian at my civilian job, that was right when I became an official retired person. Maybe it was offset by like 2 weeks. Um, but I'd say that's when I was when a true civilian in my civilian job showed up day one. That week, that first week, we got to go to Honor Guard. As you know a little bit about my story, they mean a lot to me. And usually, if I talk Honor Guard, like the Honor Guard community knew who I was, the airmen knew who I was. There was never like I have to explain who I am. And when I walked in that Honor Guard as a civilian, they had no clue who the hell I was. They had never heard of me. They've never seen me. They'd never heard my name, and they didn't give a damn what awards I won or what I did.
yeah,
They didn't care, right? Nor should they. But it was like, wow, like that was my identity. I was known as that guy, right? Changed the whole career field. 12 outstanding airmen of the year. Proudest moment of my whole 20 years. That defining moment, and that chapter's closed, and no one cares, right? I mean, it was great. I reflect on it, and my coworkers who were with me in that office reflect on it, I'm sure. Outside of that, it's over.
yeah.
This machine is still running, and there's really no point in bringing it up. It doesn't do anyone any good, because we're in the here and now, and that's the focus. And I'd say that moment was hard because it was like, I'm not Master Sergeant White, the Honor Guard, kick-ass guy that is here to help everyone and fix everything and be there for everyone. I wasn't that guy. I was Mr. They call me Mr. Josh, which is that just sounds weird to me.
Mr. Josh.
And I'm like, just call me Josh. What if Mr. Josh? They call me Mr. Josh. They think I'm a dinosaur, like I'm a senior citizen. And they're like, "Oh, you served? That's adorable." Anyways, we're training over here now. I was like, "Wow, like that's not me." Like I'm not. It's weird when you're looked at not as an airman. When like before you show up, they see your rank there. You're an airman. They get it. They recognize you. They acknowledge you. But now when I walk in, it's like crickets. Like no one cares.
Yeah.
Because I'm not an airman anymore.
So,
So I'd say if I had to pick a moment, that was probably the moment because I was like, wow, this is truly not me anymore. I have to let this go and move on.
so with that, let's say 1 February 2025, your effective retirement date. What were you running from? And this is the same question I asked Chief Bass a couple months ago. But what were you running from, and what are you running toward?
What I was running from and what I was running toward. I'm just curious. Could those be the same thing? Is that
No,
possible?
I mean, yeah, they can absolutely. I mean, it could be, yeah, absolutely.
So when I say it couldn't be the same thing, it was identity.
Mm,
It kind of was the same thing. I was running away from who I used to be, consciously knowing that I need to let that go. I need to stop bringing it up. If I'm truly going to move on, because I feel like the veterans who struggle today are the ones who cannot see past it. They cannot let it go, and they bring it up in every conversation. And I don't want to be that, right? I don't want to be that guy. So I'm running away from and recognizing that that's who I used to be. And that chapter's closed. I need to move on. And what I'm running towards is the new me, the new identity, and truly what my purpose is now, and leaning into that and finding it. And that's a journey in and of itself. I mean, my God, for 20 years, I was told who I was, what my values were, where I was going to live, and what my job was. I never had the option of quitting a job or picking different jobs or applying for different jobs or moving to any place in the world that I want. Like, what do I even do with that?
Yeah.
I don't even know what to do with that. Like, people are like, where are you going to live? I don't know. You tell me. I guess I'll stay here for now. That's what I did. I stayed here for now because I don't know. And that's like a family decision. And so it's like finding out like who is the new Josh, the Josh that can truly be himself, lean into his purpose, and evolve with his family dynamic and figure out what kind of life they want to live.
I love it. I think we both have initially set out on separate paths, but it seems we've come to a junction where we keep just running into one another, almost like the Spider-Man meme where they're just pointing at one another. Yeah. I feel like that's what like you and I are where we're at. But how important, as you go through this transition and this journey, this new identity, how important is it for people to be supportive?
Man, it's tremendous because it feels like you were thrown in the deep end, like you fell off the boat. Like the Air Force is this giant cruise ship. You fell off. You're hoping someone notices. You're hoping someone sends you a life raft, something to stay afloat. Because there's this sense of the unknown, this sense of drowning, this sense of what's next. We've never had to guess that. We've never had to guess what's next. It was always told to us what's next. You know well in advance where you're going and what your job's going to be. You even start talking to the office ahead of time. Mm-hmm. Oh, what should I expect? Where should I live? There is never guessing in an unknown. Never. So when people are going through that transition, they need support because they're, for the first time, they don't know. And you start to panic and you want to speed things up and you want answers right now. Yeah. No, I don't want to wait. I want the answer now. And you can't get it. You have to wait. And that's hard. And I'll tell you, man, I don't know if you've been through this yet, but you will. And that support isn't always there. The truth is, the hard truth, and I don't hold this against anybody, is that you're going to lose friends in this process. You will. There's people out there who talk to you because you're a chief. They stay in touch with you because you could add value to their life. But when you take that uniform off, they don't really see you as value anymore. And one thing I haven't even talked to you about was that I have lost friends. People have stopped communicating with me. People who I consider great friends. They don't follow up with me. They don't text me back, and they don't really care because the transaction, it was more of a transactional relationship from their point of view, right? That's how they saw it. So I will warn anyone that's going to take the uniform off. If you're in a position of power and you're typically the go-to to help folks with advice, career advice, maybe you know someone at AFPC. Once you take that away, people are going to lose interest when they only saw you as a transactional relationship, even if you didn't see it that way. That's a hard truth. And I am experiencing that. And it's when like the fifth or sixth person didn't hit me back over the span of 3 months. And I thought, what is going on? Like, are they first? I thought something was wrong with them. I thought, are they okay? I can't get in touch with anyone. No one's writing. These people aren't writing me back. They just don't care. They don't care because I offer them nothing in their eyes now. And so that is a hard truth. And so if you do know someone going through retirement, separation, you absolutely should be there for them because they are facing an unknown, and that's creating a huge sense of anxiety. So the more support they get, I think the better, they're going to feel going into that unknown.
Well, you have a friend in me. So, and I think I'm always afraid that I appreciate the vector checks we do for one another. on a lighter note, you said people stopped, basically ghost. But have those people, the people who aren't replying back to you, have they seen you with your beard? Because it's looking pretty good, man. It's like an edgier Josh.
It is. I have a beard because I just bought a PlayStation 5. And the first game I played was
Shout out to
Jedi
Team Departing
Survivor.
Sin.
Team Departing Sin, my Halo 3 days when I was like 19th, 18th worldwide, the glory days. But no, I refuse to play first person shooters because it makes me like a crazy person. I'm too competitive with it. But so I've been playing Star Wars.
Yeah.
Jedi's got the beards. Now I'm playing God of War. He's got a crazy good beard. So like the gaming has made me want to try a beard. As weird as that sounds.
Josh, you're the coolest podcaster I know. No. And he got the gaming chair to back it up. Hey, just going back to the transition and how can people be supportive? Would you say that's been the biggest change or adjustment from the military career?
Was like the lack of support and people just bouncing?
Yeah, because I mean, it's just, I think those are things that we take for granted or things that we don't realize. So in my retirement speech, I talked about these are the good old days and the going out to lunches and just the certain things. Like, it's almost like camaraderie is built into the system and you don't really have to make much effort. And then to your point, and that's what worries me is because I already start to feel that now, like a lot of transactional where like people were just using me because I could help them. And then once they had no use for me, it's just, they don't even get a thank you. It's just, they just move on. But yeah, would you say that's been like the biggest adjustment?
It definitely has been a very glaring part of it. People relying on you, calling you, texting you, inviting you to things. A lot of that, I don't want to scare anyone or worry anyone, but a lot of it does stop. And rightfully so, right? They're continuing on a different path than you. You both know it. So that's going to happen. To that, I would say just you have a new community now, right? It's almost like all the folks that retired around the same time you did, like that's your graduating class, right? So like Hope Skibitsky, Wendy T, Martin Foster, right? Ed Diaz, right? Like this is my graduating class. These are the people that understand me the most. And they're also veterans now too, just like me. So there's a whole other community that we just need to look at and adopt. And that's probably where we should put our eggs, right? If we're picking and choosing what baskets we're putting our eggs in, looking forward, I think you would be in a much better position embracing your new veteran community.
Yeah, shout out to Wendy T and Hope Skibitsky. I've never actually, I think I've met Wendy T last year at AFSA, but if they're interested, if you guys want to get together and chat, just let me know, because I think there's a shared experience. There's something about the shared experience about the journey we're all on right now that I'd love to discuss with them as well. What about for Angie and the kids? What's been the biggest change and adjustment for them, and Otis too, I guess?
Man, I'll tell you, like, not knowing what's next is a huge adjustment for the whole family, because everyone in the family is used to being at the will of the Air Force. And
you and Angie been together for like what, 14 years or something now, or
I think 12, 13.
But yeah, but I mean, she's she got used to the military lifestyle as well.
100%. And when the Air Force, like, you have more accountability when you're retired or separated, because when the Air Force makes a decision, even if you don't like it, you can just say, oh, they screwed up, it's their fault, and we're just going to have to stick it out because they sent me to Minot or whatever, right? But when you're a civilian, you have to own every decision you make. So you start really second guessing the decision, right? You can't blame anyone now, right? No. You make the wrong call, that's on you. You pick the wrong job, that's on you. You can't blame the Air Force anymore. And I didn't realize I was really doing that, but I was doing that. I'd say, oh, well, Ange, we have to move here. It's not our fault. They don't know what they're doing. We'll get through it, and then we'll BOP. And you can't blame anyone now.
Yeah.
So like, there's this new accountability that you as a family have to hold on to. And then right out the gate, I did enter kind of like a depression a little bit. because I wasn't sure what to do or where to go like I thought I would. Like I thought it'd be this big reveal, and it wasn't. It wasn't really super obvious. And everyone keeps asking you, what are you gonna do? Where are you gonna go? What are you gonna and there's this pressure to like do something kick ass. Like you don't want to be like, oh, I work at Barnes and Noble. Like people expect you to keep going up and up and up, right? So there's also this like pride part of it. Like I don't want to look like I'm taking a step back from retirement. I want to prove to everyone I'm still going up. So there's also like an ego and a pride part on like what's next, because you don't want people to be like, oh, he retired because he sucks now and he has to work at Barnes and Noble. I knew it. Like there's all these weird things in your head that just kind of hit you in like the middle of the night. And you're like, oh God, why am I thinking of it like this? So, they saw me take a dip in my energy. It's kind of a reminder of our mortality in a way. I know that's super deep, but like the retirement itself is like a funeral, right? It's kind of like a funeral of your career. Everyone that you love is there. They're reflecting on you and the things you've done, and putting and closing that book and moving on. Right? It's very similar to a funeral. And it kind of feels that way. It's like, wow, I flash forwarded 20 years. I remember just joining. There's certain memories that are so vivid. Basic training, tech school. I still remember them like they were yesterday. And somehow I'm 40 years old and I'm done. How is that even possible? It's almost like you realize how much time has gone by, and that by the time I'm 80, it's also going to feel like that. There's an 80-year-old me that's thinking, how did I get here? How am I 80 years old? I don't feel 80. Am I about to die now? So there's like this sense of like, you are mortal. Not only did the career end, your life will end one day. It's a reminder to me of that. And how do you want to spend the rest of that time? You're halfway through your life. How do you want to spend the rest of that time? So the pressure can be huge, tremendous. And I found myself, I'm still in it. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I get hit with bouts of very low energy, brain fog, because it's so much to think about. There's so much weighing down on you. It's hard to not let it get to you sometimes. So for your family, like seeing a change in you, and you not having all the answers, it kind of puts a panic on them too a little bit. Yeah. So it's kind of hard for the whole family in a way.
I'm with you. And I remember talking to you a couple of days after my retirement ceremony, and everything you said about the funeral, I actually wrote it down. And what you told me specifically. So it's interesting that you said the same thing just now, but you told me, if you think about it, this is the funeral, like your retirement ceremony is the funeral that you get to attend. Mm-hmm. Or like watch, I should say.
Yeah, it's your funeral, but you get to be in attendance and actually
and
see it and hear
it's
it.
the one and only time that all these different groups of people, the only time they're going to be together, for all the people from all different parts of your life. Because like for me, I had family fly in and friends fly in, and just local friends attend the ceremony, and obviously the military people. But and I was like, this actual specific group is never going to happen as a gathering again. And it hit me there. That really stuck with me, and I appreciate the talks that we've had, because everything you shared with me maybe like 2 months ago as well. And so I appreciate
it's
that.
the last time that many people are going to be in the same room for you.
Yeah,
I mean, really, because it's such a tremendous, monumentous event. So when you think of it that way, you're like, wow, that group of people will never exist in the same room for my whole life again. That's a powerful realization.
I know. And he totally killed my buzz when he told me that I'm joking. When he told me that, you're like, you're like, bro, you said it so morbidly like 2 months ago whenever we talked about it. I was like, damn it, Josh.
It is morbid, but it's worth mentioning, because
no, you're right.
You need to take every time you are with friends and family, you need to treat it like it's special, and not take it for granted, because that won't exist one day. And in another quote, there's this thing that was on the line for a long time. It was like, there was a last day when you were a kid and you didn't know it, but there was a last day that you and all your friends from the neighborhood played in your cul-de-sac, and and you didn't even know that was the last day, but that day does exist for us all. And I thought, That is true. There had to have been a last day. There had to have been. And did I realize it? No, I didn't.
Yeah.
You know, like those family gatherings when you're young, you have more family because they haven't passed away yet. So like you don't you have all these family gatherings and these special moments and these weddings and these births. And then as you get older, they get fewer and farther between, especially if you're in the military, when you can't even be there for half of them. And so I say that story and I paint that grim picture because I think we need to really appreciate any sort of gathering of friends and family going forward that we still have left.
That's part of the reason why I retired or made the decision. So I'll be 44 this year. My dad died when he was 51, which is so young. And I thought, so I made the decision last year to retire. But I was like, man, if I knew I was going to die in, at the time, 8 years, how would I want to spend that time? Well, as much time as I could with my family, to me was the obvious answer. And after 23 years of service, I was like, I'm good. Like, what's the end goal here? So whether I was like, I could 23 is long enough. I love it. It's been amazing, but I want to, I don't know. I'd been trying to treat life as, let me just focus on other aspects and embrace the now with my family. But hey, I also want to go. I want to as you look back on whether it's the year 2024 or your military career overall, what's one thing you're leaving behind?
One thing I'm leaving behind. One thing I am leaving behind. It's probably one purpose for another, right? Because like the Air Force at some point, the military becomes your identity, whether you realize it or not. It does become,
Yeah.
it gets in your brain and it stays there and it makes a home there. And for me, I'm letting go. I'm letting go of Master Sergeant White, you know, the age mechanic, the public health tech, the combat medic, the 12 outstanding airmen of the year, the honor guardsman, all those things I'm so proud of. I'm letting go of that, but I need to find my purpose as Josh White, because my purpose should not end with my service. Period. Dot. And there's people out there listening that are struggling with that as we speak worldwide. Why do you think there's so many veterans killing themselves every day?
Yeah.
I would argue that it's that purpose. They had it. The purpose was with the camaraderie, with their team, with the mission. It's all very obvious, right? I know who my team is. I know what my mission is. It's when you remove that and no one's telling you what that is, do you still have it? Do you still see it? Do you still feel it? If the answer is no, you're probably going to struggle very bad.
Yeah.
And that's where I think a lot of these suicides come from. It's that lack of purpose. And so what I'm leaving behind is my purpose. And I now have to find a new purpose, something else that fuels me, that fills my heart with love, that makes me want to keep living, that makes me want to do better, to be the best version of myself. Not because I have a PT test, right? Now I got to exercise, which I haven't been, but now I need to find a reason to exercise for me, for my health, not because of the fear that I'm going to fail a PT test and then ruin my whole career, right? Like that's what drove me to exercise.
Plural, right? Because now it's going
Is
to be
that true?
I don't know. I think so. Anyway, I had to get that one in, but plural. PT test. There's an S after that second T.
PT test. Suckers, you got to deal with that. Ha. But yeah, like you have to find that, you have to let go of that old purpose. A lot of it's not going to apply to you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to find it within yourself what your new purpose is. And I think part of that is being there for yourself. We don't do that. We don't do anything for ourselves. I mean, there's like people who are selfish with their career and make moves and stuff, you know, but for the most part, if you've been in the service for X amount of years, the last person you think about with decisions is yourself, right? You need to get back in the habit of thinking about you, because now you are your only advocate. There is no advocate. There is no command chief looking after you. There's no connection, no hookup, you know, because you're at this base with this supervisor. No, you are now your own advocate. You need to find your purpose and put yourself first and take care of you and your family.
So what do you think is something that, what is something you learned about yourself that most surprised you?
with this whole process,
or just in general now, as whether it's with the process or just something positive you learned about yourself with this whole process or in retirement, but just this current version of Josh over the past year?
probably my ability to ask for help and admit that I'm not doing great.
Yeah.
Not used to doing that. I'm used to hiding that. I'm used to never speaking on that. And I got comfortable asking for help and just being honest with myself and saying, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I used to pretend like I did. We all do. If we served, you kind of have to fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
But in this case, I said, it's just not doing me any favors. Like, my anxiety was through the roof. There's too many unknowns. And I had to truly admit that I know nothing. I'm starting over and I need help. And I started calling people, texting people, writing articles. Like, if I journaled something, I turned it into an article. So other people can get the lesson. And it has thousands of views. I mean, people are desperately searching for this information. Anything I put about transition on the internet blows up because they want that information, but they're afraid to ask. We're afraid to ask because we're trained to pretend like we know it all. Especially you as a chief, man. I can't even imagine how painful that can be when you don't know something. You're like, damn, like who do I ask? I can't ask an airman. Shit. So, but getting back in the habit of asking for help and understanding my limitations and being okay with that, I'd say that surprised me the most, that I was actually able to go through with it.
Hey, thanks for sharing all that, Josh. And I hope you have a friend in me, which I think you do, because you've mentioned, you've given me very kind words, which I'm very appreciative of.
You're my homie for life.
Yeah, for real, man. We've had some good, some deep talks, man. Like, I don't think people realize, or I've had people ask me, hey, do you know Josh White? Or have you guys, like, when people find out of a podcast or whatever, and it's like, oh, you should, have you met Josh White? And I'm like, I don't know him. No, I'm joking. Like,
you're like, I know him better than he knows him. Yes, I know Josh White.
We've had that talk too about me knowing. Probably, anyway, I want to transition to some lighter topics. These are miscellaneous and just to catch you off guard. Okay. Are you ready, Josh White?
Yeah.
Are you ready for your hero's gauntlet?
I'm ready for the hero's gauntlet. I'm going through my own gauntlet for once. Yes.
Hey, I know you don't drink, but let's say a year from now, you and I are meeting up, and I feel like that's a very real possibility because like I said, we keep crossing paths in different conferences and stuff. But a year from now, we're meeting up and we're sharing nachos, and you and I we're on cloud nine. We're happy. What are we celebrating?
Man, that is. I thought you were going to say, "Would you have a drink with me?"
No,
that's where you were going. I was like, maybe. I don't know. It depends on the situation. What are we celebrating? We are celebrating that. I mean, maybe this is just way too like naive thinking, but like I can envision us being full-time podcasters and content creators and together and doing that together and being on the same team. Like, so what I'm picturing us celebrating is the fact that we're now living our best lives, doing what we love, and we're on the same team doing it. Now, is that like wishful thinking? Of course it is. But I feel like that reality does exist. We just need to find the path to get there.
Ooh, that's good. That's
really I caught good. You off guard.
That's good.
You thought you caught me off guard?
I did actually have a rap and rhyme about our two podcasts, so that could be our. Yeah, I typed something up earlier. I don't know why I just shared that with you, but
send it my way. I'll make a track for you. I'll put a beat behind it.
I might ask Mike Sarge to do it.
Yes.
All right. So if you could give a TED Talk for something that people don't know about you, what would it be?
Damn.
What would it be about?
The TED Talk like just opened and all these people are like, you have to do it. Like, you would do it. You would crush it. I love that they're thinking of me because I want to do that for real. I do. But you're right. It's like, it's hard when you're doing a TED Talk or something like that, or writing a book where you're still providing value to people. And I think this is where we get caught up. We glamorize our story. We've told it so many times that we're like, it means a lot to us, but are people getting something out of it? I think that is the question, right? In TED Talk, when you go to apply, like I looked at the form, it makes that clear. It's like, this is not a show about you. Like, we're here to learn something. And I've kind of taken that to the podcast since then too, that type of approach. But if I were to have one, it'd be really easy on what people know about me. But if you're saying I have to make it on what people don't know about me, I mean, I shared everything online. What I'm struggling to think, like, what would that be? I guess I could make one on, I could give a TED Talk on marriage and relationships while being active duty and a career airman. I think would be a good one for me to give, because I've made so many mistakes. I'm a goofball, right? One of the hardest things you could ever do is stay married for your whole life and not divorce. I think a step further is being an active duty member and not getting a divorce. And there's so many, senior NCOs who are on their third spouse, or whose kids aren't there, or whose family's not there. That section's empty because they sacrificed their family, their future, for a rank. And I would give a lesson on how to not do that. And it's not like all good things either. Like, I've made plenty of mistakes. I was that person who would make rank at all costs, who said, F everything. This is what I'm doing. I don't care about anything else. I've fallen in those pitfalls, those traps. So if I were to give a TED Talk, it'd be how to succeed in your marriage in the military, on what to do and what to avoid, some of the common pitfalls that you could fall in, so you're not at that ceremony with an empty section.
It happens. I've seen it happen to people, and it's just like, well. So I was, yeah, I was so thankful. My wife's been with me the entire time, man, and it's just, like I won the lottery, but that's good. That's really good.
Yeah, and another thing I've noticed, and you might too, is after people get out the military, they get a divorce right after that.
Yeah, that's
because
of the
that
the other day, and that really got me thinking. I don't know if I've just never realized it, but I'm like, oh, when you said that the other day, I was like, he's right. So
yeah, and a theory I have, I want to talk to some of these folks that have been through it, if they were comfortable with it, to pick their brain, because I think there's something we could all learn from it. But essentially, what I think is happening, because I've lived it, is it's so easy to avoid relationship problems when you're in the military, because you can volunteer for things. I can volunteer for a TDY, a deployment, and I can disappear. If stuff starts getting hairy over here and I'm uncomfortable, instead of dealing with that, I'm just going to disappear. I'm just going to go on this TDY, this deployment. When you're out of the service and you can't escape and you can't run away, and reality sets in and you're stuck with this person who you have unresolved conflict with, they're not going to stay together. They might try for like a month.
We saw it with COVID, right? Or it seemed like there was a little bit of spike in divorces or breakups as well. I think you should do that. Maybe that should be the title of the podcast. And unresolved conflict. I think that'd be a great topic for you to explore. Or maybe that could be the title of your unknown TED Talk speech.
Maybe I should make that the TED Talk.
Unresolved. Do it, Josh.
Yeah, and I'm a child of divorce, right? Like, my dad's on his third wife, my mom's on her third husband. Divorce is their identity. It's part of their personality. It's part of what makes them that. And I never wanted that. I didn't want to have pain as my identity in life, right? Like, and as a kid, I could see that.
I'm gonna write that down.
And I didn't. Yeah, and I don't want that for me or my kids. And so it has been an uphill battle, because I had no faith in relationships, right? Zero faith that a marriage could work. And so I had a lot of work to do myself on how to be a good teammate. And I'm still learning. It's an ongoing process. There's no finish line, and so that means a lot to me. I know a lot of people are struggling with that. When I talk to True North, who are like embedded mental health people. I just talked to MFLAX, who are also embedded mental health folks. I interviewed 2 teams for our resiliency trainers live on Teams. And I asked, what is the number one thing that you deal with our airmen? The number one problem they come to you with, and it was relationships. That was the number one problem. keeping their marriage and family together.
Man. You're dropping all sorts of gems.
I'm making you clips. I'm thinking clips
here.
here.
You are making me clips. So,
and I'm giving you those clips.
All right, next question. If you could have one historical figure on your podcast, who would it be?
I always want to say Jesus because you would just know everything about the universe. But I don't think that would work. I think if we had a time machine, that would trigger the end of times. Like if we're like, we have a time machine, we can meet Jesus. You'd open the gate, see Jesus, and he'd be like, all right, y'all have gone too far. End of world starts now.
Yeah.
So I think it would trigger the apocalypse. So I don't want to meet Jesus because it would trigger the end times. But an historical figure, I don't really think about the history of figures too much. I think a lot about who's present now, who I could speak with. I don't really think about people from the past. But I think Abraham Lincoln is another easy one, but he would still be a great one because he saw the bigger picture, and that's not easy to do. It's not easy to, like, he got killed for his beliefs.
Yeah.
And it was all to make America the greatest country possible. And not many people agreed with it. Like, he died so that we could, have the freedoms we have today. It's bigger. It's a bigger event than most people realize. And when I researched it, I was like, the opposition that he faced was ungodly, right? Like, by and far the minority of what America should look like. But he died on that hill because he saw the bigger picture. It's hard to see the bigger picture when you're in the thick of it. Very hard. Not many people do. But he was able to see that bigger picture. So just his insight, the way he saw the world, I would love to speak with him. Apparently he's a ghost at the White House. So if we brought some ghost hunting equipment, maybe we can make that happen. But that's who I'd pick. Hopefully that's a good answer.
It is. That's awesome, especially the background of the why. So I appreciate that. So
yeah.
All right, last two questions, and the first of which is a question I've been asking. I've had my podcast since January of 2018, and I ask this in every single podcast. If there's a giant billboard with your picture on it and that glorious hair and those beautiful blue eyes.
They're green, but nice try.
Sorry, green eyes. We talked about this. Sorry, but you said no.
They looked blue
me,
on film.
Yes, we talked about this because it was blue. The America's Most Wanted thing. I was like, man, your eyes look blue. I think I texted you when I was watching it, and you're like, well, the camera. So I want to get some credit.
They do appear blue. I don't know if can you see they're green? Is it obvious?
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of.
All right, so giant billboard with your picture on it for the world to see. What would you want your billboard to say, and where would you want your billboard to be located?
Okay, so my billboard would say probably something about purpose. I'd probably say purpose is everything. Just to really drive that, it's even in The Matrix, which is one of my favorite movie series, if not my favorite movies of all time. And there's like this whole line about purpose in there. It's purpose that drives us. Like, it's Agent Smith that's telling Neo about purpose and how it's everything. And that really resonated with me. Like, I feel like every person, like the spiritual views that I have is that every person has a path of greatness that's aligned with their purpose. And it's like you align with the Holy Spirit. Like, you have a spiritual journey to make the world a better place. And I feel every human on this earth has that path. But to unlock that path takes a tremendous amount of courage. It's not going to be easy. It's like anything hard, anything beautiful in life, you're going to fight tooth and nail for it. And so to really drive that purpose, the point of that and how a lack of that could lead to serious mental health problems, depression, anxiety, I'd say purpose is everything. I'd probably have a billboard with that, pointing at the camera with my hair looking on point. Purpose is everything. Where would I have it showcased? I think Chief Wright, when we talked to him, didn't he say something about doing it online?
I think he said Google maybe, or
the Google home screen.
something. Yeah,
I'd have it as every desktop background.
I've heard that response before, but that's a
You've
good
heard
one.
that?
It's rare, but I've heard that. But that's a great answer. So he was on my podcast on episode 7 back in April of 2018, and I actually re-listened to that episode yesterday, but I haven't
I
listened.
saw that.
I haven't re-listened to the one that we did 2 years ago with him in Dallas, I think. But let's go back and check that one out. That's good.
So you reflected recently on your first episode with Chief Wright, which I want to give you credit for. You kind of made podcast history doing that.
Thanks.
Right? Because like the Llama Lounge came out, then I came out right after that, and then the Shadows podcast around the same time. But you were actually ahead of all that, and you pulled off a guest that was like just impossible, an impossible guest. The current Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force enlisted Jesus himself in his prime. Yeah. You had first. That is unbelievable. I mean, that's incredible that you did that.
I appreciate it. And it was for a personal podcast because I remember I was stationed in Hawaii at the time. Like, people don't realize now, back then, like, it was just different. It wasn't a thing. And he talks about in that episode, you need to meet people where they are. And that's when podcasts started sort of getting more common. But even not really till 2020 is when it really started. People started like, because even up till 2020, people are like, what's a podcast? You know, and you'd have to explain it to them. And I remember I coordinated with Base Public Affairs and they were against it. And it was this whole thing. But in that episode, Chief Wright, he shared a story about when he was a senior master sergeant, he did not get an end of tour declaration because he got in an argument or something with the chief of his unit. So after 3 years at a unit, he did not get a decoration. Now think about that, Josh. For a senior for a senior master sergeant not to get a decoration, how that's looked upon. And I mean, and he shares a story about how he thought he was never going to make chief. Well, clearly, there's a bright side to that story, but that wasn't something he really shared a whole lot. So to date, that's my most downloaded episode. That's by far.
Yeah. You know what? He leaned into that purpose.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's worth fighting for, and it's not going to be easy. When you find it, you have to fight for it. And he hung in there. I mean, most people at that point would get so angry and have a chip on their shoulder. I know I would have.
Yeah.
I would have got so butthurt, so angry. I would have made things worse. I just said, you know what? F this. I'm telling them how I really feel. I probably would have made it worse. I think most people would have, because it's like, how dare you?
Yeah.
And yet from that situation, with all odds against him, he not only made chief, he ran the entire Air Force and made history and changed the world, because he hung in, because he knew he had his purpose and he fought tooth and nail for it. And he hung in there, and look what happened. Look what he achieved.
Yeah, he talks about the movie Remember the Titans a lot in that episode. Hey, thanks again for that, because there was a lot of backlash and pushback, and there was just a lot of negative feedback towards me, when I was going through that process of trying to coordinate that episode, and just people had mixed feelings about it. And he gave me 45 minutes of his time. Now think about that. The Chief Master on the Air Force, I was an E7 at the time, but I got 45 minutes of the Chief Master on the Air Force, uninterrupted. And so I thanks again. I appreciate that. And then my first guest,
I mean, and the waves that you've made, the path that you've helped pave, the fact that he's a podcaster now, and so many other people that you've talked to, you have a hand, you have a fingerprint on each one of these people who are doing huge things. You helped guide them to that. That was you. So I want to thank you for paving the way and having a fingerprint on all these people doing podcasts now, who we've interviewed, who you've interviewed. You are a tremendous part of the podcast culture for the Air Force as a whole. Truly, you are.
Thank you, Josh. I really needed to hear that, man. Thank you so much for saying that.
Love you too, bro.
That hits, man, because I feel like I'm an unknown. So it's cool to hear that someone feels like I've had a positive impact. So thank you for that. I really do appreciate that. That means a lot.
Absolutely, man.
My very first guest was General John Jumper. He was the CSAF when he came in 2002. And I'm going to repost that one in a couple weeks too. I'm also just when I re-listened to the Chief Wright episode the other day or yesterday, it's like, man, I've gotten better at editing because I was, back then I thought I was good at it, and it's just like, oh god, it's kind of made me cringe on some of the audio and all that stuff, like on my side, but
Yeah.
but dude, thank you again for that, man. That means the world. That's high praise coming from someone I hold in very high regard.
Absolutely, man. If I told you to guess why Joe Rogan, the leading podcaster in history, why he's a podcaster, how that even started, who got him, who opened his eyes, who would you think that is?
I'm gonna. I think I know the answer because I think I just saw this clip like 2 weeks ago. I have two guesses. Either
Okay.
Tom Green, because
It's
he was
Tom
on a
Green.
talk show, or it was yeah,
Yeah.
but I think, or maybe we were talking about it or something, and it might have been one. I don't know. I just saw that. I only knew that because I just saw. But had I not seen it, there's no way I ever would have guessed that.
Yeah, there's a part of that interview with Tom Green. Tom Green started a radio show. He started a live TV show, kind of like the beginnings of podcasting. And Joe Rogan's in there, and he has a moment where he just sits around and he looks around and he says, "This is great. I mean, we're just sitting here talking and having this conversation, and people are going to hear it and get a lot. Like, this is wonderful." That was his aha moment. Whether he realizes it or not, Tom Green planted that seed the same way you have planted that seed for so many people, whether they realize it or not.
Thank you, Josh.
You should be in the fucking PDG, bro, under history.
Just holding a microphone.
You'll be in there one day.
Me posting an episode at 3:00 in the morning. Like,
right.
I do have one last question for you.
Okay.
And this is what I've been over the past 6 months. This is how I've been closing every episode. But what is one piece of wisdom you would pass on to the next generation to help them light their own torch and carry it forward?
The next piece of advice I would give them is take your time. The chasing rank is a dangerous game. Yeah. It's a dangerous game. If it works, like I just talked to a person who made master, and I think she's been in 9 years. She is incredible and she does deserve it. Some people make it look so easy. They do. The stars just align for them. It doesn't make them a better person than you. They might have had a better supervisor, a better opportunity at a different base. There's so many factors. And that's the thing. There's so many factors that are outside of your control. And if I could look back and change one thing, and I tell people this because it's so funny, is that there's two versions of me that could have went throughout my military career. There's the Josh who chased rank and wanted to be promoted and wanted to be a chief and wanted to do this and that and would win at all costs. And I just tortured himself and did everything right, but still made so many mistakes, but just cared about rank so much. And then there's the version of Josh who just did his best, didn't care about rank, was there for other people, and went home to his family. Now, here's the thing about both of those versions of Josh. They both end the same way. Josh, as a master sergeant, retired. That was going to happen. Now, how do you want to live your life? Would you pick the Josh that was torturing himself, chasing rank and burning bridges, or would you pick the Josh who did his best and went home to his family? They both end the same way. How do you want to live your life? Just slow down, enjoy the moment, enjoy the base. The rank shit will come. Don't let it get to your head. It's meaningless. Matter of fact, if you make it too early, that's even more responsibility you're going to have to carry for X amount of years to get to 20. Now, do you want to carry all that weight for 5 years or 10 years? Because doing it for 10 more years is real hard. Talk to a command chiefs who made chief first try, and they had to carry a tremendous amount of weight for so many years just to hit 20. So is it really worth it? It's not. It's not worth it. What's more worth it is developing your relationships, being there for each other, and finding your true authentic self and your purpose, and being there for your family. That's your priority, not chasing rank. And with today's social media, you don't see the rank once. You see it 1,000 times. It's on your feed. It's every time you open your phone. I made it. I made this. I won that. I won this. Now I'm sewing on. Now we're all sewing on. It's a nonstop feed. Don't let it get to you. Don't let it ruin your journey, your unique path.
That is so perfect, Josh. That is so well said, my friend. Hey, do you have any parting thoughts or anything you want to share or put out there before we wrap up?
Yeah, parting thoughts would just be that I love you, brother. My parting
Thanks,
thought
man.
is, Martin, you are a genuine, sincere leader. The fact that you made chief and you're such a good person, I love that for you.
Thank you.
For your team, because that's rare. It's rare to see someone with so many great qualities make such a high rank, because usually they have to be a little bit selfish to get to that point. But you're not that person. You have given so much to people and your family, and you're just the pinnacle of success in my eyes. If more people were like you, we'd be a happier, better Air Force. So thank you for showing us the right way to do it.
I don't know what to say, man. So thank you, Josh. I love you, man. That was beautiful.
Hell yeah, man. You deserve it.